And we're off live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Wolf. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. We've got Bitcoin ranging here as it's been doing for the last little bit here. But the miners have really been performing very well lately. And I've seen a ton of attention and excitement back in the mining mafia, back in the miners. I'm hearing everyone drop the tickers all over. I hear them saying, I just hear all the excitement. And so I'm really happy about that. Of course, the Bitcoin mining space is one of my favorites. Christopher, you've joined a lot of those as well. And of course, Leo and Gwen, you've joined me on the podcast as well. So I'm really excited to jump into this conversation and introduce the new viewers as well to Canaan. You guys are a publicly traded Bitcoin miner. A lot of the people who pay attention to like the hardware, they're going to recognize your Asics. They're going to recognize your name, of course. And so maybe I'll pass to Leo first, or whoever wants to take this one really, to just give a brief introduction on Canaan and the angle, a bit of the origin story, and we'll use that place as a launch pad.
Sounds great, Kay. Thanks for having us. So Canaan was the inventor of modern Bitcoin mining machine, or sometimes called mining rigs. Back in 2013, we were the first company that designed and manufactured the first ever Asic mining machine and send them to our customers. So it's been over 10 years. And our business model started out by designing and sourcing all these chips that assembled into industrial level Bitcoin mining rigs, and we sell them to customer for revenue. In the early years, we were not trying to compete against the customers because we were like, okay, we need to kind of promote this decentralization of the network. So making sure everybody gets a chance to try out Bitcoin mining and encourage everybody to, build on this blockchain technology on Bitcoin. So over the past 2 years, because the Bitcoin has already been mainstream for everybody, we started to do more self-mining. And thanks to our own R&D and market expansion, we also started a new business, which we call consumer-grade home miners, which means you can buy these smaller miners and plug them at home and mine with your cell phone, right? So the last quarter we announced, which is the second quarter of 2025, we already had a revenue mix of 66 from industrial rigs and 28 from cell mining and 5.6% from home miners. And most of these new customers worldwide love our machines. They're very strong, very easy to handle. And, it happened to be our strongest quarter in the past 10 quarters. Our revenue just hit $100 million, adjusted EBITDA of $25 million, and gross profit of over $9 million. Our self-mining operations in August, we operated and produced 98 Bitcoin, and we ended August with 1,547 Bitcoin on our balance sheet.
That is nuts.
I'm passing that to Christopher because he's on the forefront of selling and dealing with our customers. And what's the feedback from customers of our machines and services? Hey, you're muted.
You're muted.
First of all, can you hear me now?
Yes,
First
yes,
of all,
sir.
there is a lot of surprise actually on the DOA and the repair rates of our machines. Typically in the industry, you're going to see a percentage of the machines once they hit the ground delivered that they're not going to run or there's going to be an issue. And then within the first few months, you'll have issues with fans, power supplies. And our clients are just blown away by the low rate of these type of errors with our machines. It makes my job easier because there's a lot less to do, but it's also exciting because we're delivering pure hash rate to our clients. That is, you receive the machine, you put it into the data center, and you run it. So you get the power bill running, you're supporting the local community, the power companies, you're building jobs, but also your machine is reliably hashing on the Bitcoin algorithm. So I think that's the most exciting part. If I wasn't in the position I am, I would just say it's good for Bitcoin because it strengthens that network, right? Bitcoin, it's a lot of really cool things. it's digital currency, it's digital gold, it's some way to hold value. But first and foremost, it's a network. We just hit a zettahash, so there's a lot of Bitcoin miners out there in the world. So it is a competitive environment. So it's good to have an Avalon miner running, a Canaan miner running, and knowing that your uptime is that strong. And you don't have to play with the numbers or do anything funny. You have pure hash rate, the uptime is good, and you know that your business is going to be successful. So that's what I think is exciting. And it's just surprising to hear how many clients have that experience with our machines. But we know the quality of our machines.
What do you attribute that to? What do you think it is that separates you guys from the rest of the industry?
I'll touch on that briefly, and then maybe Leo or Gwen want to get into the overall structure. But we design our machines in a very conservative manner. We like to follow what the market needs. So if the market needs a traditional form factor so that they can reuse their data center racks, we've got them covered because we keep the machines that size. We don't try to push the limits too far. Semiconductors are very sensitive technology. We're down to 4, 5, 3, 2 nanometer range, and it's just so sensitive that when you try to push the technology too far in a very hot, rough Bitcoin mining environment, your machines are going to have issues. So we try to balance that quality and the cutting edge technology, because Bitcoin mining it can be a really rough environment that these machines get put into, and we want them to run. And the next thing, we've been doing it for so long. We were the first. As Leo mentioned, our CEO and founder, Inji Zhang, invented Asic miner. So it's a lot of experience under our belt. And that's just continuous experience since 2013. And I think that's a lot of the good reasons why we have that under our belt.
That is awesome. And I saw Lauren, who just jumped in here, big in the Bitcoin world. Lauren, it's great to see you in here. Me and Leo, listen, look, I can't help it. We both got, I have good taste, but he's got even better taste. Look, we got the piano in the background together. The backgrounds are clean. I know it, Lauren. I appreciate you coming through, man. Gwen, I would love to pass it over to you and get some comments from you as well.
Yeah, so I think of all the people in this room and everyone on this podcast, I'm sure I'm the newest person to Bitcoin mining. And one of the reasons, my background is more semiconductor, but one of the reasons I joined Canaan was because I really liked the management philosophy, which was, let's come out with good product and don't overhype the numbers. Even if it doesn't sound as flashy or whatever as maybe others, we talk about numbers that are real numbers, which to me, one of the many things I do at Canaan is investor relations. So we like to take a conservative stance in what we talk about. And to me, it's really comforting to know that, as Christopher said, our machines arrive and they run. We don't have to worry about that. The percentage of dead on arrival is extremely low. And I think that has led to what I think is our ability to enter the U.S. market and to grow the U.S. market pretty quickly, from my perspective. So, that's just sort of my background of what I see in the industry, and one of the things that I really, really like about what we do. And because of that, we hear customers say things. I've been in several customer meetings where they say, if our engineers had a choice, we'd only have Canaan in our data centers. And I love that. Like, what can feel better than that? I'm sure Christopher, in his role, hears that all the time. But to me, it just kills me.
Yes, I hear that a lot. Yeah.
You're muted again.
Oh no, I can hear him. I think I can hear him. Leo, can you hear him?
He's good.
Yeah.
Right on. Very nice. Very nice. I have a couple follow-ups, so we'll swing back around. But I did want to get some of your thoughts. Maybe I'll go to Leo for this one. But curious on the roadmap for people who are, or maybe someone who's already heard of Canaan, and they're like, oh, great, you guys are still here. You guys are still doing amazing stuff. What are some of the things that are coming up in the pipeline that they can be looking forward to in the future?
Well, that's a great question. I just saw the news yesterday that TSMC has raised the price for wafer and chips. What does that mean for this industry? Well, post-pandemic, there's been a downturn on semiconductor industry, and a lot of people were looking at semiconductor miners, and everybody was excited to buy more and more miners. but they figured out, wow, there is a flooded amount of machines to the market from our competitors. And that was partly due to the downturn of semiconductor industry, because all the wafer manufacturers, which we call foundries, have excess capacity, which they push to Bitcoin miner, and Bitcoin mining machines were just flooding the market. But now there is a pivot point here, and everybody is like, okay, the chips are gonna be more expensive. Let's be a little more conservative, and let's not manufacture that big amount of miners. And if that demand and supply change, that will have a very meaningful positive impact on our business, because we're not sacrificing amount for gross margin. We're not gonna hurt the market by putting too many hash rate to the market to increase the competitiveness, and that will be great for our customers, and in turn also pass through to our economics, and gonna be at least for both of cell mining and manufacture businesses. What I wanted to put here is that we are a long-term view of Bitcoin itself, and we always wanted to explore something to help the industry as well as the communities. That is the reason why we started this one-of-a-kind home mining pipeline. It's a natural hedge to the industrial risks, because it's electric consumer goods. But also, if you think about it, when we sell mining rigs to industrial players, there are dozens or maybe hundreds of them. But when we sell cell mining home miners to homeowners, there'll be tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of users. Well, that's very, very impactful to Bitcoin network, because everybody is contributing their own resources to consolidate them, to strengthen the network itself. So it is a great time for Canaan as a public company, because we always believe we should do the right things, not for the short-term gains, but it is the right time for us, because if you think about it, it is one of the fewer moments where we are continuing to do the great things, but also benefiting the company as a whole, right?
Yeah.
So I'll let Christopher talk about his personal experience with customers, because I know we've got quite a few orders from public traded miners in the US in the past few months, and I think Christopher should be very excited.
Oh yeah, very excited. A lot of great press releases. We support great American miners like CleanSpark. We have good relationship with companies doing amazing finance, like Luxor, and then we've worked with some of the greatest mining, for example, Bitfarms. We have a project with them. So I just like to see that action, and this side of the world, North America, has always been a great place for the expression of new ideas, technologies, and great people. So while we're here, traded on the NASDAQ, we have great people like Leo and Gwen and our team here in the US. We're making a big impact on the future of Bitcoin in that way. So it's just cool to be part of all that.
No, that is awesome. Gwen, I wanted to turn it over to you a little bit and get some of your thoughts on how you think about competitors in the market, how you guys stack up as far as compliance, transparency, but also maybe even just on the mining side. If there's something just in the company that you think you're like, hey, this is a unique factor that people don't know about.
Yeah, I think what I'd say is that our motto is a little bit different, and it's evolved over the years. We started out as as Leo had said, the first manufacturer of the Bitcoin mining Asic a decade ago. One of the reasons, though, that it became a business, our founder, NG Zhang, founded the company or started Bitcoin mining, and he invented the product, I believe, for himself. He was a PhD candidate, wanted to have an advantage. So he created this machine that would allow him to do a better job at mining. He was concerned, though, about the network and about decentralization. So he formed the company so that he could send the product around the globe so that everybody could participate. The network would be protected. That was important to him then, and that's still important to him today, which I think is one of the reasons that we develop this consumer product. So everybody can participate. The network is protected. But again, our roots are in this hardware, the ASIC mining machine. But we've evolved from mining machine maker to self-miner as well. So, that for us in past cycles, maybe we had inventory where you either have too much or not enough. But now, since we make the machines, we can use the machines so that when customers need machines, we can sell more machines to the market. In a downturn, in a bear market, rather than having to hold inventory, we can utilize the machines for our own self-mining activities, so that we don't have inventory or as much inventory. We're becoming more efficient doing that as well. And then, obviously we're from self-mining generating Bitcoin, which we then have now a somewhat of a treasury model where we try to maximize the use of the coins. And, it's sort of I call it a flywheel.
Mhm.
just making us more and more efficient, doing more and more areas in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
That is the coolest. I think people are gonna be excited to hear that. I know half of the tranche of people are nervous because we're at $100,000, whatever, and they're just nervous just because we're at that price. The other people are like, "What are you talking about? We're at $100,000, and they're buying in at $100,000. Like, what are you talking about? We're going up only from here." So everyone's eyes are on these treasury companies, and so it's actually a great transition there. And Gwen, if you wanted to take this, you could, or we can go to anyone else on this. I'd actually love to get all your thoughts on any trends you're seeing in the industry that may develop, or things you're eyeing that you're like, hey, we should probably get a head start on that, or this is probably going to start to become a bigger thing, whether it's in the treasury company side or on the miners side, or things that might pop up. Block space comes up as a hot topic in a lot of our spaces. And so I'd be curious to think about, to hear how you think about this.
Yeah, I think one of the differentiator this cycle is that there massive institutional participation compared to our last cycle, right? So this is all driven by the real traditional money, the institutional money. In the future, who knows? Maybe even retail money is gonna flood into institutions and create more like ETFs, right? So if you think about it, it's very beneficial to companies that are listed and to companies that have fully compliant and working closely with the regulatory regime. In the past, for example, 2017, a lot of people doing all these shortcuts and quick getting money out of it. But this time, I think it's very, very different. If you look at exchanges, some of the largest exchanges are getting public more and more, expose themselves into the public view, be more transparent because they thought that gives them access to more efficient capital and also give them a competitive advantage because all the regulatory bodies from different countries start to look hard at this industry and trying to grant licenses, use licenses as a way to scream the dark practices from some of the bad players. In this industry, it's almost the same, right? So as you can read from news, some of our competitors' mining rigs were held at the U.S. board by the customers because they took a harder look at these companies and they thought maybe there's a problem with either the tariff or taxes or the claim of their manufacturing places. They just figured they should scrutinize this industry, especially harder on our competitors because our competitors don't have the transparency and compliance that we have. And being a public company for 6 years, it means that we will be really matured. And we have a very big compliance team that navigate the differences in different regions, and because the regulation are getting transparent, it's great for us because we as a transparent company can talk to our customers with confidence that we deliver what we promise. As Christopher said, we deliver our machines at at the same price and the same schedule and the same performance that we promise to our customer. Because if we fail to deliver, that will backstab ourselves and hurt our stock price. So that's not something we want to do. We have a very long-term commitment and credibility in this industry, and I can see more and more customers appreciating that. Especially if you think about it, when Bitcoin kind of hovering around 100,000, 120,000, a lot of these customers wanted to build a longer lasting business as opposed to a very speculative short-term business. So they really put a lot of strengths and resources into streamlining their supply chain, and we are their most important supply chain partner, because they know if they buy from us, it's 100% compliant, and they know our machines are competitive, especially when Bitcoin is going around at this level. They figure that they need uptime to be high, they need the machines to be delivered on time, they need economics to be well sustainable. So they start to think harder, and the board members are putting a lot of scrutiny on their purchase decisions. So if they purchase from our competitors, which are not publicly traded, they may be facing higher scrutiny and expose themselves to higher risk, right? So this is the great time for Canaan as the only public, one of the few publicly traded Bitcoin mining manufacturers here. That is my take.
Leo, you make my job so much easier. I love all the points you're making about that. It's a really great company, and as you mentioned, you can go on with confidence. So you ask about the new opportunities that I see on the horizon. I see one right now. It's growth, growth, growth. Right now is the first cycle where we're seeing prices of the equipment being so low. Right now, you can get set up in Bitcoin mining for good prices. It has a lot to do with the macroeconomics and how we sit. But coupled with that is all this excitement on Bitcoin. So we're seeing the treasury companies you mentioned. We have the DATs. We have a lot of companies that are going into this. So it's really a great point where you have these growth opportunities. So related to Bitcoin mining, right? We're talking about Bitcoin mining in 2025. It's a good opportunity to look at the cycles of how Bitcoin runs. The Bitcoin protocol has something built into it called halving. I'm like a broken record over this, but I just want people to make sure they understand that aspect of it, that every 4 years, Bitcoin halves. That is, the revenues on the Bitcoin halves. So leading up into halving, you have a lot of anxiety. There are Bitcoin mining companies selling Bitcoin, putting pressure on it. But coming out of halving, you have supply shock. There's less Bitcoin hitting the market. The market is seeing Bitcoin prices start to rise as those supplies start to cut short. And typically what we see is a bull run, as they call it. Now, every cycle could be different, but so far they've been very similar. And this cycle, the difference that I see is that Asic miner prices are still quite low. They can get very high whenever the mania hits. Every cycle, there's another thing we see. We see new players to the market that are going to build ASIC miners, just like us and the main players that have been doing this every cycle. The thing with the newcomers is that it's just really hard to time this market. If you come in with a new technology to build a Bitcoin miner in the bear market, your investors ask you, why are you doing this? There's no money there. But if you come in during the bull market with your new product, they say, wow, it's great, we like it, but they can't catch up in time because prices rise, the supply chain management is really hard. And then if you hit the next bear market, then the same thing. The investors went, why did we do this? And then they leave. But the idea of the competition, though, it's great because we see a lot of new technology hitting the market. But where Canaan differentiates itself is we've been here since the beginning, and we're supporting the market with those products. And growth is where it's at right now. The prices are great, and natural gas prices are good. We see a lot of great green technologies, green energy technologies growing. Data center, it's all about building data centers now with HPC and AI. So right now is the opportunities and growth, whatever it is you might want to look at in the ecosystem. But Bitcoin mining is definitely something that, it is a winner, I would say, going forward. And we're looking forward to seeing that growth, right?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. And I see some of the people are excited here about this giveaway. So I'll just mention this before I forget. I see Tex already entered. I see Meme Punk also entered. I appreciate you guys coming through and listening to the stream. And guys, we're giving away a free ASIC miner, a Canaan ASIC miner. They're literally the ones we're talking about.
What did I tell you? It's growth time. We're even giving away miners. Let's do it.
I mean, look,
Yeah,
they can't be stopped. They can't be stopped.
We got too many members joining.
They got too many. We're giving away a miner.
Hash rate is rising. The hash rate is going up.
The hash rate is rising. All you have to do to win a giveaway, to win this ASIC miner in the giveaway, I'll choose a winner after the stream is over, or if I can remember, I'll choose it right before the stream is over. Just click the link down below. If you're on YouTube, it's in the description. If you're on X, it's in the tweet below the stream. It'll say, win an ASIC miner or something like that. And click that link. It'll take you to more information about Canaan. You can find out a lot more. It's a great website, and it'll give you a good start. And you can also follow Canaan. They're tagged right above us because you're going to want to make sure you're following. Otherwise, you're going to miss some stuff that come out. So just be sure you click that link and just screenshot proof. That way we have it. That will much more increase your chances than just retweeting. So just be sure that you go to the link and then screenshot you're there. That'll increase your chances of winning. And someone will walk away today as a new miner, or they'll add to their miner fleets, and they'll just continue putting in that work. So appreciate you guys supplying another ASIC miner. I think this is awesome. I think the people, by the way, I don't know if Christopher, but I think it's been a couple weeks since you've been in the mining space, but they are going crazy over the giveaway. Like they really, really are enjoying it. And so I just big shout out to you for continuing to do this. A lot of the conversation really has shifted into the tech world, into the AI world, into block space, and it's gone away from the fiscal in some ways. But at the heart of it, it's like, what are you you're gonna walk away from the fiscal, the ASIC that's actually gonna mine this stuff. You can't walk away from that. It doesn't even make sense. So anyways, I think it's interesting, and I think these conversations are cool. I'm curious as well on maybe I'll throw this question to well, I can say it. This question can go to anyone here really on the panel here. But Leo, can you still hear me? Just want to make sure.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Perfect. My bad. It might have been my connection. All good. So my question here was this. I'm curious on how you guys view the long-term economics of Bitcoin mining. I just referenced a couple other areas that people are diving into. Christopher, you mentioned a couple as well. How big of a trend / directional change will it be when, especially, I don't know what prices these things are going to be at, but when Bitcoin's at a crazy price and there's only so much Bitcoin to mine, I'm just curious how that conversation is going to look and what people are going to be paying attention to. Where's the highest profitability and what it looks like as a company for you guys as well. So I'm not sure who best to answer this question, to be honest. It kind of just popped up in my head. Maybe Leo, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we all have different angles. I believe everybody in this industry have different angles about long-term player. So we know there's only one direction for Bitcoin in the long term, which is up to the moon, right? So that should benefit Bitcoin mining as a whole. But if you look at mid to short term, there will be fluctuations, right? In the past, fluctuations can be very volatile. In the last cycle and last cycle, sometimes people get broke. Sometimes people got really rich through a year or half a year's mining. Yep. But since Bitcoin mining started to root in United States, which is maybe 2021, 2022, a lot of public miners raise a ton of capital and start to mine Bitcoin, and they purchase the miners from us and our competitors. And remember, back then was COVID, right? It was a lot of problems in supply chain. So they pay us money, but we could not deliver the machines on time. So when they received the machines were already 6 to 12 months away, and they received the machine Bitcoin prices down, right? So they were suffering from expanding both the downward Bitcoin price and expansion the mining hash rate on the network, because when they receive the machine, they have to plug them in, right? So that was dark times which is exactly what happened to most of the miners in 2023. And then when Bitcoin price rebounded, especially in 2024, from let's say 16,000 to 80,000, it was like a 5-time difference, and everybody was like, okay, this is crazy, because all the miners are making so much more money than they used to, and they want to buy more, they want to raise capital, and they want to get more. So back then, as I said, there was plenty of supply on the market on Bitcoin mining machines, because for the past 2 years and the 2 years before that, it was hard to sell machines. So there was still a ton of machines, and everybody was moving, including ourselves, moving to the next generation. So we moved from A12 to A13, then to A14, and to A15. So 4 generations already. I'm looking at A16. So a lot of these miners coming out, and people were like, okay, we need to try this, we need to try that. And everybody was buying machines and plugging them in and using them to build out massive Bitcoin mining machines. And they established an incredible team, very efficient compared to what they used to be 4 years ago. Okay, now the new trend is that a lot of these hyperscalers and AI hosting companies like for example, Google, Amazon, or even CoreWeave, they look at this industry and they say, okay, if we want to build our AI data center, we need to talk to the energy provider, and we need to do the mapping, the feasibility study report, and we need to buy the mainframe transformers, which will take 12 months lead time. And if we want to build our AI data centers by ourselves, it will take us 2 years. Why not talking to someone who had a data center experience on Bitcoin mining, and also very cheap and massive power and expansion plan they already did with the grid and the power energy, which could save us 12 months or even 24 months. So they talked to these people, and the Bitcoin miners were like, wow, this AI is so exciting. A lot of this company decided to pivot into data centers, because that give them access to more traditional institutional investors, which will help with their valuation. So what I'm seeing is that, with all these existing public companies' mining sites, they're still refreshing their old rigs. We saw a lot of incoming orders and demand for refreshing their old rigs with our cutting edge technology and new rigs. But when they expand, they want to show the market they're making meaningful expansion, and that expansion is not purely on Bitcoin mining. It will also design themselves as a AI HPC player, right? So that gives them higher multiples on their expected revenues in 2026, 2027. So that is making the market more rational from my view, because if you take public miners as a group, they raise capital and they grow, and sometimes it's just too fast for the whole network, right? So but all over the world, everybody look at the economics of mining. So I think Bitcoin mining is back to where it was and where it should be. Everybody has to care about Bitcoin economics. So one magic thing about Bitcoin mining is that if Bitcoin price drops, some of these less efficient mining sites will go out of the market, and there will be less competition, and you generate more miners from one hash rate, and we'll come back and reward these who are more efficient and who have better machines and cheaper prices on their energy. So I think the market is coming back to that situation, which will streamline and kind of get rid of the bad players in this industry. So I think this is perfect for the whole world. I'm not saying U.S. miners are stopping. They're not stopping. They still grow. But I think it's more rational because they're looking at economics on Bitcoin mining. They're looking at the economics on AI. So if one side is outweigh the other, they're going to shift, but they want to keep both options open. That is just my take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're seeing like a lot of Wall Street. I mean, the whole conversation around MSTR potentially entering the S&P 500 and then saying, well, with this new rule, they can kind of put, these numbers over here and it would kind of count as earnings. So technically we could, and I remember being like, man, they're going to have to restructure how we value companies at some point. It's going to have to be like if another company gets too good at something else and they start outperforming, the market has to respond, and so that's a great point that you bring up there. I love that. I mean, Christopher, maybe we could go to you next, and then would love to get some thoughts from Gwen as well. I think you're muted on my side, at least, Christopher.
So talking about trends, I put them into two different sides right now. So obviously, for Bitcoin mining, it's good to look at hash price calculation, which is the Bitcoin mining revenue. So it isn't just that Bitcoin is 120,000, 118,000. There's actually a calculation on what your revenue looks like in Bitcoin mining. And then on the other side of the conversation, I look at it as the security and the audit of Bitcoin every 10 minutes while we're mining. I think that conversation's very important right now. And it's what I want to focus on. Going back to hash price, I wrote an article recently for the Mining Disrupt magazine, and I talked about hash price calculation. It's something that's not as understood, but it's getting to be a big vocabulary in North American clients. And I like that. It shows that the market is maturing from last cycle and that everyone knows what Bitcoin mining is, right? It's a calculation of the Bitcoin price with global hash rate, with how many Bitcoins are rewarded every 10 minutes, and with time. So through this calculation, you can know approximately what you can make per terahash or per computational unit of your Bitcoin miner. It's really important to understand because you can look at your data center, your operation cost, the cost of the miner, right? So not overpaying for your miner, and get a realistic idea of what your operations should look like. So that's already a great trend. Everyone's understanding that, which is good. The thing where I'm going to go back to my main point, what I want to talk about is the security, the audit, the verification of Bitcoin on this side of the world. Bitcoin mining is going to be important whether or not the profitability is through the roof for a few reasons. Wall Street has a lot of Bitcoin now. Main Street has a lot of Bitcoin now. There are individuals that are holding Bitcoin. They're looking at it as the future of currency, the best money ever invented. It's even better than gold in a sense because you can take it with you. It's easily transferable. It can fit in your pocket. It can fit in your brain. You can have a brain wallet if you memorize your seed phrase, right?
That's what Trump just said, right? Bitcoin is going to replace gold.
That's right. And I think I just invented a new word, a brain wallet. That's interesting.
Yeah, brain wallet. I like
you've got 12 words in your head. You can hold your Bitcoin anywhere, So this is going to be important for the security of Bitcoin, is having Bitcoin mining on the sides of the earth that you want to protect that Bitcoin. Why? Because there are Bitcoin updates. There are things like miner choice. There's pool choice. And the more Bitcoin you have in those free worlds, those free countries, those countries that have a lot of Bitcoin, the more secure that Bitcoin is be. I was recently in New York City for a private event with Anthony Pompliano, and I asked him this question on mic. I asked him how he felt about the security of Bitcoin mining and how it fit into the macroeconomics of the world. And we had a great conversation together with the people involved. And I think it is becoming a hot topic. The US government, I can't speak for them, obviously, but I'm sure they're looking into it. I'm sure the governments of the world are looking into that. And we love to say the word sovereign, right? The sovereigns are getting involved in Bitcoin. Well, I'll tell you what, Bitcoin mining is a big part of that because Bitcoin mining is Bitcoin. Bitcoin miners are Bitcoin. That is where the future of this conversation is going to be once we start to see Bitcoin expand beyond, the institutions and into the retail market, into the everyday users.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, probably a couple different routes I could go there. We'll go to Gwen first, and then maybe I'll circle back. But I really like what you said. That's very cool that you're able to speak with Anthony. Was that at the Bitcoin Unconference?
I'm talking about a recent conference in New York City. It wasn't that one, but it was
that one. Got it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so if you want to hear some of the things that I'm hearing, so like I said, I wear a lot of hats. One of them is I get to go to DC and talk to some of the policymakers and their staffs from time to time and get some new ideas about what's going on or where um, the policymakers' heads are around Bitcoin and the whole ecosystem. And one of the things that I found when I was there a couple weeks ago is that, you know, a lot of the conversation started out with, you know, Bitcoin mining is just bad for the environment. We can't support it because it's, you know, just wasting all this energy. And uh, one of the things that I and the people that I was there with started talking about was, you know, actually it's the opposite of that because Bitcoin offers a flexibility that you don't get with HPC AI data centers. You know, if you turn off an HPC AI data center, you're in big trouble. If it goes down, you know, it takes months, if not
Yeah.
longer, for that to come back up. So what a lot of people are doing, talking about doing, a lot of the more forward thinking people do is you have your HPC AI data center as the major part of your business, but you also continue to do Bitcoin mining because it gives you the flexibility to you can turn off Bitcoin mining and then turn it back on again. So if your grid, if the energy company in your area is running out of energy and needs you to shut down, you don't have to shut down the great big HPC AI data center. You switch off the Bitcoin mining. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. It's helping with the grid. A lot of the people that we talked to were worried that Bitcoin mining would just suck up all the energy and my constituents won't be able to turn their lights on. And from my perspective, it's just the opposite because if you can use Bitcoin mining as a tool and turn it, you know, toggle it up and down as necessary, you don't have to worry about your constituents not having electricity because this can be quite flexible. You know, it, as Christopher I think said earlier, you know, you can use green energy. So when the sun is shining, you can power up your Bitcoin mining. Use you know the traditional grid at nighttime when the cost of power is lower. I know one of our colleagues overnight has energy cost is 1.2 cents, I believe, a kilowatt hour overnight because they're trying to
That's
encourage
really
people to
good.
use. So, yeah, so there's so much flexibility and so much opportunity to rescue stranded energy and just a whole bunch of stuff that we can use Bitcoin mining for to make the energy grid much more efficient. So that to me is so exciting, and it's I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg there, and have a lot more opportunity going forward.
I think Green has hit a very, very important point that energy is actually very important for this industry because Bitcoin mining is essentially a play against energy cost, right? So if you think about the last administration, they really put on a lot of very strict regulations towards the energy industry. That means, you know, you got to increase your cost if you want to produce more energy, right? Whether it's nuclear, whether it's coal, or even in sometimes it's green energy, right? There was excess green energy supply because of the incentives from the government, but everybody knows that the government incentives is not sustainable. So once they set up the green energy mining farms, whether it's wind farms or solar panel farms, they could not find enough demand. And they talk to Bitcoin miners and say, hey, could you take our energy? Because we're now getting very, very little demand from the grid because nobody wants our energy. So the Bitcoin miners say, yeah, this is cheap energy. This is what we need. And now if you think about it, everything pivoted. The green energy is still there, right? But they're unleashed brown energy, whether it's, you know, nuclear is green, but we're talking natural gas. We're talking about unregulated markets for the energy itself. You know, then if there's massive energy sources coming into this nation, we're gonna see people have a stable, no blackouts. We're gonna have a stable grid because a strong grid is built on both strong demand and strong supply. So where is the strong demand? The demand has to be flexible. It has to be accumulative, and it has to be sustainable, right? So Bitcoin hits all three spots, right? Because this is a massive market. People mine Bitcoin based on Bitcoin price, based on the generation. So this is actually great for a company like Canaan, because if you build more Bitcoin mining sites to balance the grid, you need more Bitcoin mining rigs,
right.
and we happen to produce the best mining rigs in the market.
It's only a matter of time before other
right?
people wake up to that. I mean, half of them already have. You're already working with half of these guys. So it's like, at some point, they're all gonna be like, wait a minute, we need some more of those. Actually, that'd be interesting. I mean, that'd be really, really interesting. Wow, I enjoyed that. There's a few really good points in there, Leo. We're gonna have to clip this one up and find some of these highlights, because there's some good stuff here in the Bitcoin mining world. I was gonna say I would love to go back around the panel real quick as we wrap and just get some closing comments, whether it's like an announcement you have coming up or something we haven't mentioned that you wanted to drop, or anything in that regard, or you're gonna shout out or something like that. I would love to go around the panel. We can start over. We can go from the top over. We can start with Gwen and hit Christopher and finish with Leo.
Yeah, so my final thought is, you talked about winning this Avalon Home Series Nano 3S,
Yes.
which is a great product. And what I like, I think Leo had said we're the only company that's offering this consumer line of product, or at least an attractive, easy to use product that you just plug in your 110-volt plug. It's so simple that even I could use it. So that's really nice. But we have a range of products, from the small heater that we're giving away now. There's another bigger baseboard type product. And then we have one called the Avalon Q, because it's so quiet. You can have it in your room and you don't have to shout over it. These are products that you can live with. And what I think is so great about them is that I think having the opportunity to mine Bitcoin, however large or small you can generate, but it's somewhat offsetting the cost of heating your room or heating your home, which I think is so powerful for the future. We're doing this, we're just at the starting point of these consumer products. But I think if you could offset the cost of heating your home, if you live in a place where there's winter, which I do, Christopher might not, but I do. So, it's getting really expensive to pay your energy costs in the wintertime. So anything that can help offset that. And on our website, we have a little, I don't know what you would call it, something that you can toggle. You enter the price you paid per kilowatt hour, price you pay for the machine, and you find where your break-even point is and when you start, making money. But here, for whoever wins this product, their break-even point would be immediate. So it's pretty cool stuff.
If Saucy's in the chat, currently Saucy, you're in the lead here. You've got the most entries currently. So again, if you want to win one of these ASIC miners, you're listening right now, all you have to do is go to the tweet down below the stream. It's right below our heads, and there's a link there. Just click the link. The more things you do, basically, the higher your chances of winning. Retweets, likes, comments, of course, and then the ultimate, which is the screenshots of you there for proof. That'll be like the ultimate one, and that's how you can win. Then you'll walk away with potentially a free ASIC miner from Canaan. And so, very legit. It's not like an airdrop crypto thing that's gonna hop in your wallet like meme coin thing. It's nothing like that. This is a physical piece that you will get to start mining Bitcoin with. I mean, this is cool. Very, very cool stuff. So please enter that. Christopher, we'll go over to you, then we'll finish with Leo.
Great. I'd love to piggyback off of Gwen's comments on our home products, the Canaan home ASIC miners. There's two ways to mine Bitcoin. You can either join a mining pool so that you are kind of signing a contract with other miners. If you find a Bitcoin, we're going to share it. If you find a Bitcoin, we're going to share it. It's kind of like that, but the Bitcoin, the mining pool takes basically the main risk involved in that to make sure there's distribution. Then there's another way, it's called solo mining, where you can try your best with your machine to make that block for the Bitcoin network, and you get the Bitcoin subsidy, the reward, for that 10 minutes. So you could use the home products as a hobby, a game, and try to solo your own Bitcoin. There's actually been miners using our products that have solo mined Bitcoins. So that's really cool right on there. If you want to make it into a project with your kids, showing how to mine Bitcoin, hook up to a mining pool, hang out with the other Bitcoin miners there on the pool, and then you can see the revenue come in and say, hey, kids, or hey, wife, or hey, husband, look, we're getting Bitcoin every day. Isn't this cool?
Yeah.
You know? So there's ways to do that. And the Canaan miner is built by the professionals. It's built by Canaan. It's Avalon miner, so you know it's going to run, and it's going to be a good price, and it's going to be power efficient. So that's great. One last thing I wanted to end this talk with is, yes, I am in sunny Florida, Gwen, and Florida's really great. We don't have those hot, we don't have those cold winters, right? But I love green energy, and I think it's really important. Green energy is a business like anything else. You're not going to build a bunch of solar panels and turbines if you're not making money. Bitcoin miners, let those companies, those projects, just inject pure profit into those projects so that they can pay off their equipment. And you know, we also help this green energy market overcome the peak contradictions. That is, you know, the peak times for using power in the morning when people are using their toasters, you know, and turning on the TV to watch the news. And when they come home, do the same thing. They turn on their oven and they turn on the TV to watch the news. Everything else is just a slow business. It's a slow business day for the power companies. If we can make nuclear power profitable, if we can make solar panels profitable, wind turbines profitable, that is a surplus of power in the country that you're in. So where we are is the United States, but it could be Canada, Mexico, it could be Malaysia, any country around the world. These Bitcoin mining activities are making the future power for the earth. And we never know what kind of power we're going to need coming soon. So I think we should be ready and support Bitcoin mining for those reasons. So Canaan's here doing that. And we have reliable Bitcoin miners with good uptime. So, you know, you're not going to have to, you know, get a screwdriver and go and fix it. It's going to keep running.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that take there.
Yeah.
Leo, we'll go over to you.
Wow, thank you, Craig, for saving the last law for me.
Yes.
I guess, you know, we talk a lot of topics today, you know, a lot of excitement from our heart. But I would speak for every member of Canaan that we feel great here because we see the nimbleness of this company. You know, we feel this is a very nimble company. So because Bitcoin industry is very, very cyclical and it is impacted by regulatory changes. You know, all of a sudden you get squeezed out of China. All of a sudden you got squeezed out of Middle Asia. So, you know, you have to be a very, you know, quick adapter to all of that situations. And Canaan happens to be that adapter. And you know, Canaan is not just quick. It also fully complies with all the regulations, which is incredible, right? So we keep doing the right thing. And we keep, you know, we never complain. We just work what we can do and do our best. For example, recently we set up our U.S. manufacturing base in California, in Bay Area, California. And that is one of the measures we put here to help our customers deal with the tariff situation, because tariff has created a lot of uncertainties for our customers. And people were like, okay, can you manufacture in the U.S. so we don't have to, you know, suffer all these uncertainties, whether there's change, there's another round of tariffs coming. You know, we just wanted to work with you guys if you can provide very solid and sustainable supply from domestic, you know, China soil, U.S. soil. So that is what we did, right? So we set up the manufacturing base, we calculated the cost, and we streamlined the manufacturing. And now when we look at the economics, the manufacturing cost in the United States is actually slightly lower than when we manufacture in Malaysia, which is kind of counterintuitive. So because when you talk about California, you thought it was expensive. But because of the chips we imported from overseas are exempted from tariff, that makes our overall manufacturing cost lower than Malaysia. So that being said, we keep on innovating on products. We keep on expanding our presence in the United States, and we aim to becoming the best and the largest partner of our customers and partners.
That is so well said. And I see a few people in here excited about the things you were just saying. Saucy, I think Saucy right now is in the lead. I think there's a very high chance Saucy wins here. In fact, I think we'll choose this winner now. I'm going to look through. There's like a 99% chance it's Saucy who's winning this, who's taking away this. Yep. Yeah. It's going to be Saucy today, folks. Mr. Saucy, you have won Canaan's Asic miner today in the show. Thank you for being here live, especially. That was like the biggest win.
Wow.
Is that we can give away
Well
one
done,
live.
Saucy.
Let's go.
Congratulations.
Yeah, big win
You'll
for
be
Saucy.
hearing from me shortly.
Let's go. All right, Saucy, I will shoot you a DM. We'll get your email and a couple other things, and I'll hit you up, get that squared away. I've got a few other people who've won some miners, so I'm stoked. I got the endorphins flowing now. I'm feeling pretty good. Listen, Leo, Christopher, Gwen, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you again for the giveaway as well. Got someone, I mean, hopefully started mining in a few days now.
You bet.
Happy to contribute.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Thanks
listen,
for
guys,
having us. Appreciate it.
100%. I hope you guys have an amazing day. And for everyone who's watching back at home as well, be sure to give Canaan a follow. Again, we're going to be giving away miners every single week on our Bitcoin mining space. And we talk about all things going on. So be sure to check those out. That's on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you like these kind of conversations, we have a lot more of them on the channels. Just be sure to give us a follow. We're going to have a lot more of this content, doing some more stuff with Canaan here as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. If you enjoyed the stream, please like and repost. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. And we'll catch you guys all in the next one, guys. Bitcoin mining is not going anywhere. Bitcoin is not going anywhere. And it's going to be crazy, crazy next few years. We'll see you guys all in the next one. Take care. And ending stream.